What's up, folks? I am Brian Jester, co-founder here at Occupy Fantasy, and recent $50,000 winner in League of Legends DFS. Now we've been doing articles and Twitch streams every single day, so I figured I'd bring a YouTube video, bring back our 10-minute series. Today, a first look at some DFS picks and lineup advice for tonight's LCK and LPL slate on both FanDuel and DraftKings. So if you like what we're doing and you want all of our videos, go ahead and click that subscribe button below. Give us a thumbs up if you like this video. If you have any questions, comment below. DFS, League of Legends, LPL, starting lineups, whatever you need, comment below, and we'll be sure to get back to you before the slate starts at 2 a.m. Eastern on, I guess, April 8th. Today's April 7th. So yeah, you see this screenshot here. Hashtag screenshot life, $50,000 win a little over a week ago for me in the big GPP on DraftKings. And here at Occupy Fantasy, we don't get into the nitty-gritty details for League of Legends. We don't even look at stats. We don't look at players' champions picks, bans. We don't look at any of that. We look at betting odds, projected ownership, and what our lineup research has told us is the optimal way to play League of Legends DFS. That's how I was able to take down this tournament. That's how our members have been able to have success so far. So, like I said, we do a daily article. It is called The Daily Plug. It's on occupyfantasy.com. It's not been updated for today yet. It will be updated by 9 p.m. Eastern. And it goes through, from a high level, the betting odds, general tips on how to build lineups in League of Legends. This applies for every single slate, starting lineups for each team, and then our slate-specific recommendations on how to build lineups for low-risk and high-risk contests. So be sure to check that out. We'll put the link in the bio below so you get a chance to go look at that. So at the top here, we do have the betting odds, and that is what we'd like to start with from a very high level. Look at the team level expectations and then go from there. So I like to use Pinnacle, their odds. They are the sharpest sportsbook in the world, take some of the highest limits for any sport, League of Legends included. And if we look today, so there's 3 games on LPL, 2 games on LCK, that's the Chinese and the Korean leagues. Vici Gaming minus 260. And OMG minus 201, and TES minus 300. These are the money lines, the likelihood that these teams will win the series, which is important for DFS. And we'll get to that in a second. The other things we'd like to look at are how often or how likely is the game or the series to go 3 matches. Will it be 2 matches or will it be 3? And we have odds over under 2.5 here. We look at that to see how close games are expected to be, how close series are expected to be. But then most importantly, and this is the biggest driver of ownership in League of Legends DFS, it's implied kill totals. So you see here for the first map, the first game of the series, RW in Vici has an implied kill total of 25.5, and the spread is 6.5. And by using this, we can get implied kill totals for each specific team. And those team-specific implied kill totals is what drives ownership. Generally, the highest projected kill team will be the highest owned team in both low risk and high risk contests. So we look here, RW and VG 25.5, SN and OMG 25.5, but then we get down to TES and Team We 28.5, the biggest kill total on the slate. So we can expect TES to be the most popular, even though they're the most expensive, and we could probably expect Team We to get a little love in high risk contests too as a high upside underdog. If we go over to LCK, we see a couple things. We see the biggest favorites on the slate. DWG is minus 550. Gen G is minus 988. But then their kill totals are much lower, 21.5 for the DWG game, just 20.5 for Gen G. So LCK is more objective focused than the LPL, generally less killing involved, less team battles, and as a result, we see lower fantasy scores for the positional players in the LCK. And so we see a big favorite like Gen G shouldn't have any trouble with APK. Very unlikely they reach their ceiling, but really good chance, over 90% in fact, that they reach their floor, which is important for low risk contests because we talked about it on our Twitch streams. We talk about it in the Daily Plug sometimes how in League of Legends DFS, the difference between the winning team and the losing team, their fantasy scoring is unlike any other sport. In NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB, you can be on the losing team and still be the highest scoring player on the slate. It's very possible for that to happen. That cannot happen in League of Legends DFS because of the big discrepancy between winning and losing scores. Guys on winning teams will score 50, 60, up to 100 and some points on these three game series, where losing players will score 10, 20, 30, 40 points. It's a massive difference. So when you're playing low risk contests, you want to maximize the win percentage for each of your players to make sure you get 7 guys who are winning their games and have a chance of getting 60 plus points, 40 plus points, whatever it may be. So if we go over to DraftKings, which is where I generally like to start and look at low risk, this is what we do from a low risk perspective to start the slate. We see what's possible with these big favorites from a lineup standpoint, and then we build our strategy from there. So the biggest favorites: TES, highest kill total on the slate; Gen G, 90+% chance of winning; DWG, also 85-90% chance of winning. You want to get these guys into your lineup. You're low risk. You want 7 guys that have a great chance of winning. You're not looking for upside here. You're looking for guys who can get the W. Now, the problem with TES, as we'll see, let's actually go back to all players. TES has the highest price player at every single position. Every single position, minus team, because LCK teams score more as they're more objective focused, which is great for fantasy scoring. But positional players, TES. And as a result, you can't even really fit in the TES guys in an optimal lineup construction, which we'll get to in a second, without sacrificing somewhere. Now, TES, while they have the highest kill total, which is great for high-risk contests, they only have, and only is in quotes here compared to Gen G and DWG, only a 75% or so chance of winning, whereas these other teams have close to 90%. That's a 15% difference. That's pretty big for your low-risk lineup. So what you can do, you can play guys just from Gen G, just from DWG, and have 7 players that are like 90% chance to get a W. That's very important. That's going to put you in the top half of your low-risk contest more often than not. When I say optimal lineup construction, we talk about this in our daily plug, in our general tips, literally the first section. And again, this is for mostly DraftKings because FanDuel requires you to use 3 different teams, and we outlined that here, what the optimal lineup construction is. This is all the research we've done. This is how I won the 50K. It's all lineup construction-based research. What the field does, what the winning lineups do, the top 0.1% of lineups do, and what the difference is. And the key is the field just doesn't use this often enough despite how often it wins. 4 guys from one lineup, 3 from another. Use it in your low-risk lineups. Use it in your high-risk lineups. FanDuel, you go down to 4-2-1, 4 guys from one team, 2 from another, 1 from a third team. And this maximizes upside and floor just because of the massive correlation with assists being awarded on pretty much every kill in League of Legends and multiple assists being awarded. When one team has a lot of kills and gets a W, almost every player is going to do really well. So that's how you have to start. Let's think about high risk for a second, and let's go. Actually, before we jump there, I do want to talk about one thing. So Kenzie131 posts lineups on Twitter for the LPL, like 12 hours in advance. We never have any issues here. These are the lineups for tonight's slate. We have no issues. That's going to be set in stone. It's the LCK where we get a little tricky because they're not allowed, due to some gambling laws, to post their starting lineups in advance. Kenzie131 on Twitter will post the first game's lineup a little before lock, so we'll have a chance to make some changes if need be. But we're stuck guessing with who we think will be the starter based on recent events. And Gamepedia.com, fortunately, has every single starter for the entire season. The games they played in and who was a starter. So for Gen G in particular, we see guys like Rascal, Clid, BDD, Ruler. They've played every game this season. They're likely going to be the starters tonight. Where it gets tricky, though, is their support, Kellen and Life. Kellen started 2 games ago. Even started last game. He got subbed out mid-series. So we think Life, who had started most of the time, will get the starting nod tonight. But again, we don't really know, and that makes him kind of risky. So for low-risk contests, these guys who are in questionable starting spots, you can't really risk it in low risk. High risk maybe, but again, low risk, it makes it really, really tough to play these types of guys. And we'll put projected lineups on who we think will be starting in the daily plug. But again, they're just that. They're best guesses because the information is really hard to find for the LCK. All right, before we get out of here, let's talk about high-risk contests. And again, we'll go in-depth in this in the daily plug when it's posted, occupyfantasy.com. And we'll take all of your questions about our strategy for tonight's slate on Twitch, twitch.tv/occupyfantasy, 10 p.m. Eastern. So, DraftKings. So TES, if we try to fit in 4, if we look here actually, let's go to our notes. We almost always want to try to get ADCs and mids as our captain because of their high scoring potential, especially on a larger slate. A 5-game slate, very, very, very high chance that one of these positions is the best scoring chance on the night, best scoring position on the night. So if we try to do that in high risk with TES, so with Fodic starting, we get him at captain. And let's just say we fit in 3 other guys from their team. That leaves us with 5,500 left per player. That really limits the amount of three-man stacks we can put in. And now the fact that TS is going to be so popular, any three-man stack that goes with them, as long as you're playing in a regular-sized 100-player league even, GPP, it's going to be duplicated. And the goal of high-risk contests is to win that top prize by yourself. If you're playing a contest where the top prize is $100,000, you should really be playing for the $100,000. You can't do that if you tie with a bunch of people. If you're playing in a 100-player league, you want that 25 times ROI, not 12 and a half, not 10, whatever it may be if you split with people. So that's why we harp on uniqueness in League of Legends and NFL Showdown, because it really is important to maximize your potential ROI chances. So playing any four-man stack of TES, despite being the highest projected team, really leaves you kind of thin in high-risk contests because, one, it limits what you can do with your lineup, and two, it's going to be very popular and likely duplicated. So while it may suck and you may have to just cross your fingers and do this, but it's really tough to play TES in high-risk contests. Lower implied teams like Gen, despite having really good median projections, for a variety of reasons, it's tough to play these teams at high risk. Even if they end up being the highest scoring team on the slate, there may be a more optimal combination where you can fit an ADC at captain or a mid at captain with two lesser scoring teams. So I know it's going to be tough to fade those guys who are 20-30% owned and have the highest projected kill total, but it's about the high level stuff here. We're looking at lineup construction and what is the most likely to happen. What is most likely to get you the top prize by yourself in your high risk contest. So we'll flesh all this out tonight for our daily plug. Again, this is just the first look on what we try to look at when we first start researching the slate, using the back testing we've done, and looking at high-level DFS strategy that we know at Occupy Fantasy. So if you want more information, one, go ahead and click the subscribe button below. That way you get our latest videos. Give us a thumbs up if you like the video. We'd appreciate that. Any comments, any questions, hit us below. But then OccupyFantasy.com, we'll put the link in the bio or in the description down here for the daily plug for tonight. And then twitch.tv/OccupyFantasy, 10 p.m. Eastern. It's our live video show. It's free. You can get your questions answered there. So I encourage you to check that out. We'll put that link in the description below as well. All right, that'll do it for this. I'm Brian Jester at Brian Jester FF on Twitter. We're at Occupy Fantasy. Appreciate you listening. Good luck, and we will talk to you soon.